Hey guys, how's it going? Matt here from Flight Club. Super excited to be doing the lives again. I know we had stopped for a little bit, but tomorrow is Women's Day. And for Women's Day, we have an extremely special guest joining us. And we wanted to talk about women in aviation and help encourage women to join aviation. The main point of today is to get more women involved because currently only 4.9% of women are account for the total population of women that are commercial pilots, which is absolutely crazy. So without further ado, we're going to have Pilot Annie join us.
Hopefully the connection will work out.
Hey
Hey,
Matt, how are you?
good. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk to you.
It's such an exciting day that you're joining us tomorrow, as you know, is Women's Day, and you do so much for the aviation community and women in aviation as a whole. So we're super excited to have you.
Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate it. I in particular love like aviation, and I think everyone should get involved in it. And it's too bad that there aren't more women involved in aviation. So always looking to get more people involved and interested, young and old.
I was looking up some stats before our meeting today, and it's only 4.9% of women that encompass all the commercial pilots in Canada, which is absolutely insane. Like
Yeah.
I can't believe that it's so low.
Yeah, and if you look at women who are in like captain positions, it's like something like 1.9 or 2%. It's even fewer. So yeah, it's pretty wild.
That's crazy. For those of us who are joining us and don't know you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Annie. I originally from Toronto, and more recently I moved a few hours north of the city and live in a small town called Collingwood. And I'm a private pilot working towards my commercial and instrument rating. Things through COVID have been a little bit slower, but I'm on wait lists. I've got, things lined up, and it should all be coming to fruition this year. So I'm excited about that. And most of all, I've been an advocate for women in aviation. I'm a member of the 99s. I was on the board of directors for the Northern Lights Aero Foundation. I'm a member of Ladies Love Tail Draggers, the Harvards Association, you name it, I'm probably involved in it. But yeah, so just it's been really cool networking within the aviation community around the world. I've met a lot of really amazing people through Instagram in the last 2 years, and it's really cool. It's just like this big growing family.
You mentioned a lot of different organizations there. What are the 99s and the Northern Lights Foundation?
Yeah, so the 99s is an international organization. They were actually started by a few well-known founders, one of which is Amelia Earhart. So what happened was in, I think it was the 1940s, no, 50s. They basically were looking for more women pilots, and at the time there were only something like 120 female pilots across North America, and specifically most of them were in the USA. And so they sent letters to all of them requesting they kind of band together and start a club or like a group or some sort of network of female pilots. And 99 of them wrote back saying that they would love to join. And hence the 99 came to be. And now it's a massive organization. It's international. And it's aside from, having scholarships, they do a lot of outreach programs, there's mentorship programs, and it's divided into sections so that you can get together with women who are living close to you.
That's awesome. That's such a cool foundation. I've never even heard of that before.
Yeah,
Um,
no, it's awesome. It's actually like the biggest association within like aviation for women, I'm pretty sure. There's also Women in Aviation, which I'm a member of. And they are a similar organization, just a little bit different. And as for the Northern Lights, that's a Canadian organization. And they started out as like an award based program. So they would give awards to women who had achieved really incredible things in their careers in aviation, whether it be like engineering or, you know, operations or business. And they would use them as a platform to reach out to more females. And now it's turned into like a scholarship program and a mentorship program and so much more. So yeah, it's been really cool.
I'll have to get some of those links from you and share those in our post when we post this after.
Yeah, for sure, no problem.
During your training, what were some of your like biggest setbacks, and do you think you had more setbacks as a woman in aviation, or do you think it's comparable to other males that were doing similar programs as you?
Yeah, I think the biggest setback for most people is financial. It is terrifying. I took out a loan that I got co-signed by my parents, and it was at first, like, you know, you get started and you're like, yeah, this is all good, and then, you know, slowly that loan becomes bigger and the line of credit becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And I did my private license full time, so I wasn't actually working at the time either. And so aside from just, you know, flying, you have bills like your phone bill and gas and all these other things come up, and it snowballs, and it's so terrifying because you're like, how am I going to pay this back? And there's, you know, no end in sight, because aviation is generally a long journey, no matter which way you kind of go at it. So financial was definitely the biggest setback for me. There are a lot of scholarships out there for women. I haven't done as much research with it. I'm not sure if there are very many. I'm sure there are scholarships out there for men. I know there are. I just don't know what the ratio is. I know that obviously there's been a big push to get more women involved. So it wouldn't surprise me if there were more scholarships that are like aimed at getting women involved. But I have applied for most of them, and I didn't win all of them either. Like I've probably applied for like at least 30 of them and got maybe 5. So which is amazing. Like, I'm not at all complaining, but just encouraging words from anyone that might be listening that is looking for funding. It's definitely worthwhile. It is a lot of time, writing these essays, getting recommendations, and showing up on paper to a board of who knows who, judges who, are trying to pick the best candidate. It's scary, but it's well worth it. And if you have the time, then I would highly recommend it.
It's definitely a numbers game, right? Like the more you put yourself out there, the more likely the chance that you're going to be selected is.
Absolutely.
It's huge.
Yeah, definitely. And it's also like, just a lot of it is learning how to present yourself. I think in society we're taught not to be boastful, and then to sit down and write an essay about yourself and then talk about all these amazing things that you do is really difficult. And sometimes it doesn't translate very well. So it's not the easiest task, for sure.
And I think as a woman, you mentioned that like you're taught not to be boastful and not to like show what you've done, and it's almost like we need to completely flip that script and showcase like the things that women have done and make it okay, or make it more than okay. That like,
yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if that's specific only for women too. I feel like just in general, like, nobody likes like the ass that, it's like walking around with his nose up, and that's not at all what I'm saying that you need to do to win scholarships. It's just, you really have to talk about your successes and the things that you've been a part of, and sometimes you just forget. Like, in a year I have so many goals that sometimes I forget the things that I have achieved, and you get down on yourself because maybe you're not like getting to where you thought you'd be at that time. And sometimes you just need to like take a step back and realize that you've actually accomplished so much. It's just, I feel like generally we're pretty self-deprecating as a human being. So you got to kind of take it easy on yourself and kind of give yourself a pat on the back sometimes.
I honestly think that like setting goals, and for me, I'm very visual. Like, I just have sticky notes on a wall, and like when I reach that goal, I rip it down, and you're like, okay, I'm like 50% of my sticky notes there. And just like having that visualization is very helpful for me.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's a great trick. I might try it.
But with like an aviation journey, the best advice that I've been given is like take what estimate you've been given, double it, and then like add a third to that, and that's probably where you'll end up. And like with COVID, it's insane how much things have slowed down.
Yes, everything takes a long time, and I'm learning the same thing with aircraft ownership also. Um, I think just in general in life, it takes a lot of patience, and sometimes it's just overwhelming, and you kind of have to take a step back and like take a deep breath and then go for it again, and it's okay. But yeah, it can be really challenging for sure in aviation.
Aircraft ownership is amazing, but also so frustrating because you're like, okay, I've fixed everything. There's absolutely nothing that can go wrong, and then next week, surprise, surprise.
Totally, yeah. It's never ending for sure. And there's always like you always want upgrades. You're always like, oh, what am I gonna do next? And they're like, oh, maybe we should sell it and like upgrade to this. And it's just, yeah. Anyway, I can go on.
The constant battle, right? Like what do you want to achieve? And it's always like, okay, like maybe I need an IFR plane, or maybe I need something faster or aerobatic rated. You do a ton of aerobatics as well, which is awesome.
Yeah, you know what? I myself am not an aerobatic pilot, so I definitely want to mention that. I just have friends that are aerobatic pilots and have been kind enough to take me along. So I would love to get into aerobatics, but for the time being, I just really have to focus on like the CPL and the IFR and all that. So
I hear you. I'm doing the same battle. I had done a flight with Upright Aviation in Burlington.
cool. How was it?
Amazing. Their extra 300 was absolutely insane, and their instructors are so like they ease you into it. They're very gentle at first, and then when they see like, okay, like let's do more and more and more, and insane flight. Like I could not believe the flight was only half an hour because I was exhausted by the end of it. But
Right? Oh
what
no.
am I?
It's crazy. And then when you get out of the airplane, I feel like I felt fine up until we were landing, and then when I got out of the airplane, I was like, "Oh my God, I had no idea I was feeling this sick." So,
Yeah.
it takes a toll on you for sure.
You've done a lot of really cool flying though outside of aerobatics. Like you've flown through British Columbia, Alaska, Ontario. Where's your favorite place been that you've flown?
That's a really good question. I have really loved off airport flying. I think is super special, and there's when I was in Nevada in the high Sierras, that was really incredible because you're flying low on these playas, on these like dried out lake beds amongst these big mountains at high altitude. And you feel quite safe because you can land just below you at any time. So you're like maybe, like 50 to 100 feet off the deck, and the possibility of landing anywhere at any time is, to me personally, is really exciting. Even in Ontario, like I went ski flying 2 weeks ago, and landing in Pentanguishene Harbor was like crazy. I was like, so we can land here for sure. And my friend Nate was like, yeah, like it's a waterway, so technically it's not like we can land anywhere, as long as it's safe for us to do so. So that was really cool. So I think in general, my favorite places to fly have been places that are off airport.
Awesome. Me and one of the other flight club members, when we were ferrying back 172 from Calgary, to move it to Buttonville so that pilots could rent it and book block time. We were flying through Saskatchewan, and like being able to land everywhere really resonates. I had asked him like, if you had an engine failure, what would you do? And he's like, I would go anywhere because it's so flat and you can just park it anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely pretty comforting. And even here in Southern Ontario, there's like so much potential. I get a little bit nervous about it in the winter time, just because if you're not landing on a road, generally you're going to flip the airplane, and
Yeah.
that makes me nervous. And so ski flying a few weeks ago was really comforting, just because like the potential is just endless. Whether it's lakes or fields, There's just there's a comfort level there for sure.
You've done a lot of flying, like all over the place. What would you say is your highest recommended $100 burger?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Um, Darn, I'm trying to think now. Um, so locally, my favorite's probably Aurelia. There's Tailwinds. That one's really awesome. They've renovated it a few years ago, and it's right on Lake St. John. And
Yeah.
so you have, in the summertime anyway, it's really beautiful because all these, float planes are landing and they have a patio so you can overlook the lake and watch on all the incoming traffic. And then inside there's planes hanging off the rafters. So it's very aviation themed. So that definitely is my favorite local place.
Yeah.
Um,
Comments absolutely agrees with
yeah,
Tailwind and Aurelia. I've been
yeah,
there too. Gorgeous there.
yeah,
With the float plane and yeah, the grass strip.
yeah, it's awesome.
Where else have you gone that you really like?
Um, I'm trying to think. My personal favorite is not so much like establishments or like restaurants at different airfields. It's like the barbecues that like the old boys throw at some like podunk grass strip in the middle of nowhere. There's this really cool strip out in Cortland, Ontario, and it's actually quite challenging to land at. But every Saturday, they have burgers, and it's just like anything like that. That's what that gets the community together. That is awesome, especially if it's like out of the way and it's just like some guy that brings out his barbecue on his truck and is like flipping burgers for everyone. That's awesome. There was one instance in Fairbanks, Alaska, where the Alaskan Airmen put together a really cool barbecue I went to, and their club members came out and cooked for everyone. And they actually really cool about Fairbanks. So aside from it being an international airport, they've got the main, arrivals runway on one side. Right next to it, they have a water runway for all the float planes. And then right next to that, they have like a GA apron. And it's littered with like everything, every kind of bush plane you can think of. And then they have campsites right next to it. So you literally just like book your little campsite and pitch up. It's just so awesome. And they have like a pavilion where you can have barbecues or whatever and picnic like tables. It's awesome.
We've actually started recent collaborations with Sunridge Airport and
Yeah.
Airport, and we're looking at hosting some camping and like barbecue events there this summer. So you should definitely come out
Yeah,
if we.
I would love to. They just got their runway paved, didn't they too?
Yeah, I don't think it's paved. It's like asphalt that they
Okay.
put down. But it's still really nice, and like their clubhouse is newly renovated. It looks absolutely awesome. So like shout out
Yeah.
it's really cool there. I think they
Yeah.
also have like a fly-in event that's called Bug Smashers because I can just imagine the amount of bugs there in like the spring and summer. But they really cool spot.
Yeah, it's awesome. I've landed there before, and it's like the terrain's quite cool too. It's like when you're taking off, it kind of there's like a hillside that kind of rises up, and it's especially when you come from flatland Ontario, it's just something different, right?
Definitely. But yeah, we're like it should be really good if we have like a camp out, COVID pending. But
Yeah,
it'll be awesome. We'll definitely send you an invite this summer
yeah,
to.
I would love that. Oh, I'm in.
What are some ways that like young pilots and specifically young women can get into aviation? I know earlier this week you had talked about how you mentioned to your guidance counselor like, hey, I want to be a pilot, and they're just like, nope, you're not going to do that. And you didn't give it a second thought. Like how can we encourage women and young kids to join aviation? Right now, it's not the greatest time in aviation, but I think in the next couple of years, it will pick up. Like people will start traveling again, and it's going to get crazy busy with the number of people that are leaving the industry. What do you think we can do to encourage people?
That's a big question. So I think it is actually tied up a lot with like societal norms, and I think it really starts in the household, like mom and dad. Um, I mean, there's a lot of things that we as an aviation community have done, can do, aside from like, COPA for kids, trying to get, kids involved, and just like discovery flights, and even through all these organizations doing girls fly days. That is awesome for sure. But you have to know that you can do it yourself. And there is no amount of like outreach. Well, there is, I guess, like you can have someone in your life that motivates you and gives you the confidence and like pushes you to do something. But if you don't know in your like your being that you have the capabilities to achieve something, it's really complex. So I think really it's about educating parents about possibilities of children and women in particular. I know like myself, my parents thought like I could do anything and it was awesome. But I know with other families, there's perspectives about girls and what they should do, and they should be in dance classes and not in, shop class in high school. And I remember, I remember myself, I really wanted to take shop class in high school. It was like something I really wanted to do. And I was talking to a girlfriend of mine, and she basically insinuated that if I was going to do that, it meant that basically it was only something that homosexuals did. And that conversation had turned me so off of it at a young age that I was like, oh, I don't want to do this because I'm going to be stereotyped as a woman that might like other women. And it's just like there's so much societal pressure involved in like what being a woman actually is and what women can do. And we still got like long way to go before we've made it. But I think we're making really good progress. I'm noticing more and more girls at airports, which is really great. But yeah, there's still a lot of room to grow for sure.
Definitely. It's really interesting that you say that. Like it's little things like that where myself as a guy, like I wouldn't ever think twice to like, oh, I want to take that class. Like perfect, I'll take that class. And it's little things like this that I think we just need to be aware of, where sometimes women face additional challenges where like it's not even second nature to us to think of something like that.
Yeah, no, it's different. And I mean, I think there's a lot of really cool like grassroots movements with different people. There's a lovely lady out of Montreal called Sandrine. I just spoke with her last week actually. She's doing something really cool. She's basically taking women for flights in her airplane like out of her own free time, and has got some companies on board to help sponsor and like pay for gas and things like that. I think that's really lovely. COPA for kids is really great in getting people involved. But I think that when it comes down to it, you have to have like a really great support system and somebody that believes in you, and somebody that believes that, as a girl, you can achieve anything. And sometimes, like, especially culturally, I know coming from an Eastern European background, sometimes, ladies' places sometimes in the house, right? So you just, it's a loaded question, basically.
At Flight Club, like our whole goal is to help airplane owners reduce their costs of ownership and help pilots fly airplanes for less money. What do you think we could do as a company to help women get involved, or to support women in aviation, and just get them out there? Like even when I look at our members, most of the pilots flying our planes are male. I think out of the 200 active pilots that we have, we only have maybe 20 female members. So what could we do to get more women supported?
I think sometimes it starts like in the simplest of instances. Really, you don't always need to take someone flying to encourage them to fly. Sometimes it's just a community event. For example, a friend and I, we did a loose formation flight with a friend of his, who's a girl. And she saw me flying and was like, that is so cool. I really would love to try that. And it was just like, just that situation already had encouraged someone, and it wasn't the intention of that particular day at all. So I think that flying people can obviously get really expensive, but what can get people involved is just having like a cool like a hangar day and talking to people. And there's sometimes anxieties mixed up with flying, and people have aviation can be misrepresented in time as something that's really dangerous. And so just explaining to them like how it works and encouraging them that way could help. But that's kind of like what I've been trying to do. I really have been trying to get this community together through just hangouts. So we've at Collingwood Airport anyway, I've been putting together like a Caesar night every month and inviting people that I meet to come along. Throughout my writing, I've been writing for COPA for almost 2 years now, and I always encourage people to try and take out their families, like close friends, because you don't know the impact that you can have within your own social network also. So there's so many different ways to do it, but honestly, social media is awesome. If you in your club want to find like a group of young people and each like that are interested in maybe going for a flight, and each, take one person, I think, and like document it and put it on YouTube or something, and have like, a bunch of like 17-year-olds that are their friends watch that video and then suddenly think it's cool. Like, I think that's a great way to get it going too. Their possibilities are endless these days, really.
Awesome. Well, we'll do some posts and see if anyone wants to join us for flights. I know a lot of our pilots just go flying alone, and it's always better to fly with someone. So if anyone wants to jump in, let us know, because we're always flying, and we're always happy to have someone join us.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
What would you say to women looking at getting into the aviation industry, and how would you recommend they get started? Like, I remember going to my first flying school after finishing my training, and it was just so intimidating seeing those people sitting behind the desk in the white shirts, and like everyone is. It's just so intimidating. And then I can imagine, like, as a woman going to that same desk and just seeing only men. How can you encourage women, or like what do you recommend they do? How did you get started?
That's a good question too. So I got started because I really like, I'm an adventurous person, and I was traveling. I graduated university, did some time in college, and still didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I decided I would take some time and travel. And so I moved away from home for almost 2 years. And in that time, I'm living in Australia at one point, and there was a company that would fly along the shoreline, and it was a spotter plane basically that would radio down to the boats in the harbor and let them know that, there was a whale shark here, there was a humpback there, and there's a manta ray over here. And I saw it as a way to see the world. So that's the way that I actually initially became interested in aviation. But it is really intimidating and scary when you first get involved, but the best things in life always are. And sometimes you create walls in your own head, and it's not necessarily like, the people at the front desk wearing their lapels or whatever and their white shirts are probably just as eager to help you out. You just don't know it yet. So it's just kind of realizing it's just a uniform, and that everyone started from zero and had a different path. I think we just all have to remind ourselves of that. And I still do all the time. I feel like I've been involved in aviation for such a long time, and, I'm only just finishing my commercial. And yeah, you just have to be understanding that things take time, and that people generally want to help you, and that it's easy to look at someone and see where they're at and kind of dismiss everything they had to go through and the challenges they had to overcome to get there, which are going to be very similar to what you're going through to achieve that same goal. So
awesome. We have a couple of questions here.
Yeah.
We have someone who is taking their first flight lesson tomorrow, and they're asking, do you have any suggestions?
Um, yeah, just enjoy it. Feel it out. Like just don't stress out about it. It's there's an instructor there to help lead you. They're not judging you at all. This is kind of like your first foray into flying, and it will be the most memorable thing of your entire aviation journey. So just don't overthink it, and just be present, be in the moment, and you will cherish it for the rest of your life.
And I think the other important part, like when you're doing flight training, is that don't compare yourself to others. Everyone has like such a different learning curve, and you see so many times in like the forums, like, oh no, I'm at 15 hours and I haven't soloed yet, or I'm at like 60 hours and I haven't soloed yet. It's like it's okay. Like everyone takes a different amount of time, and when you get it, you get it. But I think the most important part is just like be consistent. And
Exactly, yeah. I have a friend that soloed after 100 hours, and um, she more recently has been flying through the San Juan Islands out of Washington. And yeah, it took her a little bit more time, but and it was a roller coaster because things don't always come easy. Your instructor might get a job and leave, and then you have to start new with somebody else, and maybe you don't click, and maybe you're not understanding things, and then maybe it's COVID and your school shuts down, and then you don't fly for months, and then you got to start all over again. Like nothing is black and white, and it's just a number at the end of the day, and it doesn't mean you're any less of a pilot than the person that soloed at 7 hours. In fact, you're probably still much more experienced than them, so good on you.
we have another question from Bolivia. Sergio, you're finishing your commercial pilot's license and you're 28. I don't think there's ever a time that it's too late to join aviation. Like, live it, love it. I mean, that's what we do. It doesn't matter when, but just like at least that's my opinion. Just aviation's awesome. There's never a wrong time for it.
Yeah, and I think it's a pretty old school mentality that thinks that, there's a certain time that you need to be getting into your career. Scrap all of that. We're in an age where you'll likely have, 8 careers in your lifetime. And there's people that are becoming airline pilots in their 40s. So don't even pay it any attention.
Yeah. Another comment here about airspace. How do you have any tricks to remember different types of airspace as you're
Oh
preparing?
my God. I literally just dictate out loud in a room, and I'll be like, and sometimes I put acronyms like Class A, Annie is never going there. Just because it's so high, and that's just generally not the type of flying I like doing.
Yeah.
Class G, go ahead. Class F, there's there's some bad ones too. But no, just have like anything that helps you study songs sometimes. But for me, reiteration out loud and then fun acronyms that I can like remember somehow help.
For me, exactly what you do. Like I tell myself a story, and then like I use that story to remember what I'm gonna do. Like you said, like Class A, and Andy's never going there. It's like super helpful. For me, it's like better call ahead.
Yeah, that's it. That's great. That's actually a really good
um, what's next in your aviation career, and what are you looking forward to?
That's a really good question. Obviously, I think we've all had a rough go. Obviously, pilots that are established in their careers are having a really tough time. And it has also been super discouraging for flight students, just because, it's a pretty tumultuous career in general. It seems like, every economic collapse is tied with aviation, and whether it's recessions or huge, pandemics or whatever else that's tied to it. I personally, I've definitely struggled with keeping motivated within aviation. But I think general aviation has always fueled, my fire, and uh, keeping close within my community and still flying for myself has really helped, because sometimes when you get caught up in flight training, you lose the point of it. Like, why are you flying in the first place? Are you flying to train? Like, is that really why you're flying? No, it's not. Um, so that's been really helpful, and it's obviously been really great to own an aircraft through COVID, because with all the flight school closures, I don't know where I'd be at. I know that the first flight school closure in March last year, I didn't have an airplane at the time, and that was brutal, because nobody was flying, everyone was grounded, and it just is like the biggest plateau. Nobody really knows what's going to happen in the future, so it's all pretty ambiguous. But it's a great time to be a flight student and to train. So I'm going to keep with that. I think overall, I really love talking to people, and so I can definitely see myself getting involved in instructing. But also for me, the goal has always been to like have great experiences, and the airlines have never really aligned with that. Not that I've been working for the airlines. I'm not saying that airline pilots don't have great experiences. What I'm saying is that I'm not here to build time. I'm not here to build like a really crazy successful aviation career. I'm just here to be happy today. And I think that corporate aviation could definitely, offer that to me. Just some like variation and spontaneity, and that's just who I am. It's part of my nature, so I'm gonna gun for that and see how it goes.
That's awesome. Yeah, I really like that. It's almost like enjoy the journey, not the destination, and just like love what you're doing every day, as opposed to like I'm setting my goal here and like I just need to work to get there. Like I think you really need to love it, especially with aviation. It's so expensive. Like if you're working, you work like 3 hours, 3 to 5 hours to pay for like half an hour flight. You're just like, oh my goodness. Like I said, it gets discouraging, but I think like having the community around you and the community that you've built is super important, because when you get down, you have that community to support you.
Yeah, and I've really loved that, especially with regard to Instagram, because I've been able to network with young pilots, men and women, across the world. And it's really encouraging when you're going through the same thing at the same time. And so you can kind of vent to each other about maybe things you're struggling with, or maybe like praise each other for, the successes you've had. So yeah, it sometimes can be difficult. I know I had a hard time finding like my tribe within aviation.
Yeah.
And honestly, I just hung out with a lot of older men and it was awesome. They were incredible mentors, and a few of them are still alive today, which is awesome. So I still keep in touch with them. Uh, but sometimes it's not always who you think is going to be the right fit for you that's going to actually kind of like open your mind and really teach you a lot. So just be open to new experiences with people you may not have ever dreamed you would be friends with. Like one of my closest friends is 84. So to give you an idea.
Is that Gerald? That
Gerald.
last one you've done, he's awesome. Like some of the flying that you guys did together was absolutely amazing. Like what do you think is your best memory that you've flown with him, or what have you learned from him that you didn't learn, or like wouldn't have learned had you not been flying with someone like that?
To slow down. It was like, yeah, seriously. As soon as I drove up on that grass airfield, it was like I would take a deep breath, and everything I did went into like snail pace, and it was so enjoyable. I feel like everything else was like, oh, you got to get to your flight booking, you got to get to here on time because your flight plan, you'll have to change your flight plan. With him, it was just so different, and it was it was just like, I hate to say it again, but we just flew, like we were just so in the moment, and the best times we had together were actually on the ground and not in the sky, which is kind of wild. Just, helping him, with changing things in his hangar and talking to him about how he got his pilot's license and, how he paid, I think it was like $50 for it, something ridiculous like that. Because the government had a savings or a bond that they gave out to people that finished their license at the time. And yeah, I think don't get me wrong, we've flown a lot together and we've really loved it. And unfortunately, because of COVID, we've been kind of taking some time apart. Obviously, I would hate to have him get sick and then think it was my fault because we went flying together. But I'm hopeful that this summer maybe we'll get to go out again. And he's so passionate about aviation and he loves flying with women. He just I don't know, he's just so accepting. Like he just took me in right away, and I'd never met the man in my life and was so confident in my skills as a pilot and was so proud of me. And it was just super cool to have a stranger kind of turn into this monumental figure in my life.
I've had a sort of similar experience as well. I'm a member at Woodstock Flying Club, and there was a member that is like super, super experienced. He's been flying for 30, 40 years. He actually just lost his medical recently. But like he had Parkinson's, so his hands would shake when he was on the ground or when he was doing anything. But as soon as he sat in that airplane, just so smooth, like the most, I don't know, like the best flying that I have ever seen. He had a tail dragger airplane, and he could land that on a dime. Like you tell him where you want it to touch down and where you want it to stop, no problem. Every single time, like amazing, amazing pilot. So it's just so much that you can learn from people like this, and like you get the experience and just amazing flying.
Yeah, no, definitely. And Woodstock's a really great club. I love Woodstock, and that strip is awesome.
Yeah, they have some cool barbecues, and I think they stopped the garage sale now, but the garage sale was always a but
I remember that.
I
used to work in Woodstock, and I lived in Brownsville, which is like just west of Tillsonburg, and that's where I actually got to meet Gerald. So those are like my stomping grounds. I love it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you're in Collingwood now, right?
Yeah.
So a bit further away, so you probably don't get to see Gerald as much, even if like COVID wasn't.
And when I didn't have a plane, I would drive down from Collingwood to Cortland and then fly with him for like at least an hour, right, to 2 hours, and then drive all the way home. And it was like an 8-hour day. It was, yeah. So now that I have a plane, it's great, but I haven't been able to fly with him because we only just got it in May last year. So I'm eager to kind of get him in it, although I'm a little bit nervous about getting him into a Cherokee just because he's a little bit slow moving and getting him into places can be a little bit more difficult, but I'm sure we'll figure it out. It'll be great.
You have a Cherokee 140, right?
Yes.
I saw your recent post. How excited are you about all the instruments and stuff you're putting in?
I can't even. It's just like a dream come true. I honestly was like trying to figure out, I was like, okay, I'm going to need my instrument rating. Like, how am I going to do this? Like, we have a flight school in Collingwood, but it's pretty pricey. So it's a diamond fleet with all glass panels. So obviously it's going to be expensive. So I was like, I got to like then commute down to Burlington, and like Burlington's really busy. So getting flight time can be tricky. And I was just thinking, geez, this is going to be such a nightmare. And then luckily Aviation showed up and they wanted to partner, and so they're sponsoring our panel, which is super, super exciting. We're like over the moon. So it actually goes into the shop April 1st, and Kovacek's down in Burlington are looking after that. They're actually cutting us a new panel, so we are super stoked. There's just been a lot of people getting involved and jumping on board, and we're gonna create something really cool and hopefully get loads of people up in this airplane and show them, the beauty of flight.
Absolutely. And Aviation makes such good good stuff. Like I'm so excited to see the panel. Like just you holding it in your hands looks awesome, but I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, no, well, I'll come pick you up. We'll go fly it.
Awesome. Or maybe we could do some formation flying. We have two aircraft that we rent out for block time in Buttonville. So we could maybe get a bunch of planes and fly out to somewhere.
Yeah, I'd love that. That'd be awesome. I'm trying to make it a goal to fly to a lot of out of the way airports. Airports haven't been doing so well through COVID either, so we got to make an effort to get out to the Stanhopes of the world and just Bob Cajun and all these these out of the way places that maybe aren't generally on your flight route. So we should plan a little gaggle of airplanes to go out there.
Buy fuel at every place, just going.
For real though. Like that makes like such a huge difference. And at the end of the day, it's like what, $10 to you, and it's the livelihood of an airport. And we're always complaining about how airports are shutting down everywhere. So it makes a difference. You just got to reach into your wallet a little bit further.
Absolutely. I think it's just like sharing that and like building the community, and the more people we get involved, the easier it gets. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. So count me in on all adventures for sure.
Awesome. Any last words of wisdom, unless anyone has any questions to women in aviation or women looking to join aviation?
Words of wisdom. I think in general, just like don't build it up in your head so much. Like anyone can do it. And I think the biggest thing for me was realizing that I can achieve anything that I want. I just have to want it. And sometimes it's kind of hard to decide what you want in life and what you want to go for. And with regard to aviation, it's a long commitment. It's a big, long journey, but it is worth every second and every dollar. So just hold true and you'll make it.
I almost forgot. I wanted to talk about one of your blog posts where you specifically discuss women in aviation and how you broadcast yourself and showcase your image as like a very capable pilot and as a woman in aviation and as doing really, really cool things, but not just doing those cockpit selfies. And you talk about like how we need to change the image of women in aviation instead of just those like cute cockpit selfies that we all love to take.
Yeah. I think my views aren't always the most popular, but I think as like a woman in aviation, I want to be taken seriously. And when you sexualize yourself, you start to mix the message, and it's difficult for a lot of people to see through that. So I think, namely, aside from, cockpit selfies, like any like really provocative poses in front of airplanes, I'm just not a big supporter of. And I think that the reason is because when it comes down to it, like I'm here for the passion and the love of it, and I hope that comes across. And that's not that comes across to me when I see images like that, on social media. And it speaks for all of women in aviation. And it's just not what I think to be the right image to be portraying to like people that are either interested in it or have no background in it. I never want to come off as like, somebody that's there for a picture.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, that is important, and I take lots of pictures in front of airplanes. But there's definitely a big difference between what I myself do and maybe some others portray. So that's really what I meant when it comes down to it. I'm super careful about the image that I put out there, because I do have young girls that message me from all over the place, and I never want them to feel like they need to be something different than themselves, or they need to look a certain way when they go flying.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I was really getting to in that blog post that you read. And by the way, I'm really impressed. You did a lot of research, and like I have to say, I've done a few podcasts now, and you really impressed me. Good job.
It wasn't just me. I can't take all the credit. One of our flight club team members, Claudio, was doing a lot of the research and helped me prep for having this discussion with you. So shout out to Claudio.
Thanks, Claudio. I'm pretty sure Claudio and I have been in touch, actually. He and I have been meaning to get together for a while, so we got to make that happen.
He said he was going to come and get a shirt from you, so I think we are also bringing you a shirt when he finds out there. So
awesome! We'll trade shirts. I love it.
Awesome. Well, Annie, thank you so much. And I think that last message that you shared is so important. Like you don't need to change who you are to be like to do what you love or to fit into a mold. Like make the industry fit you, and that's how we get the change. And I think that's how we get more women involved in it, because it like you don't need to be a different version of yourself. Just do it, love it, and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. No, I thank you so much for your support, and thanks for talking to me today. I'm super flattered that you thought of me, and let's keep in touch. And I think it's awesome that we're having these discussions, and hopefully people who are listening might be inspired by something you or I said. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm pretty good at getting back to people. I try and be really great about it, but life happens, so sometimes it might be a few days.
Awesome. Well, you definitely are very responsive. Like you messaged me almost straight away. I'm like, oh my goodness, like you actually messaged back. So awesome. We're getting another question here. Have you ever seen a UFO?
I have not, but apparently like Tilsonburg is like ground zero for UFO sightings. I don't know if you've heard that before, but I know a few people that have or think they have seen UFOs that live in Tilsonburg. So
I know where I am flying to next week. Go check it out.
Some night flights.
Yeah. Exactly. Awesome. Annie, thank you so much. Everyone, thank you for joining us and watching with us. And remember, tomorrow's Women's Day. Like, thank a woman, encourage a woman. Women do amazing things, and they face so many more hurdles than the average guy has to face. So anything you can do to encourage the women in your life, please do so.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Matt. You're awesome.
All right. Bye, Annie. I'm sure we'll be in touch.
Bye.
Bye, guys.